Hello friends and welcome to Exploring Disney Patents, the series where we look at patents Disney has filed for attractions, merch, animatronics or experiences in an attempt to understand how Disney make magic. On today's episode we're looking at possible Marvel Quinjet attraction where your toys interact and change the ride, or as Disney simply calls it, interactive toy. US patent number 20210023457A1, this was originally filed on the 2nd of October 2020 and published on the 28th of January 2021. The opening paragraph describes it as, the system can be for delivery of an interactive attraction experience. The system can include a passenger vehicle having a plurality of passenger locations and a content presentation system that can present a virtual portion of the attraction experience, detect presence of a non-ride device, and deliver a trigger signal via the transceiver to the non-ride device, the trigger signal linked with the attraction experience. Now for this video we're going to be referencing an attraction and interactive toy a lot, so for example I'm going to use the upcoming Avengers campus attractions and accompanying toys for reference. A disclaimer that this may not be what the patent is for, but it's my personal belief that it fits the description the best, so we're just going to roll with it, and if Quinjet opens without an interactive toy then I'd like to think I've covered myself. When Disney first announced Avengers Campus, they had mentioned a Quinjet attraction for Phase 2. While little is known about this attraction so far, what we do know is that it will take guests on board the Quinjet to fight alongside some of your favourite Marvel superheroes. However, in the concept art, it seems guests will be seated separately in an attraction style similar to Flight of Passage or Soarin'. In the figure drawings for this patent, we can see that the interactive toy is modelled after a human or human-like figure. The patent says, toys are made in different forms and types and can include a building set, character type toys such as an action figure, a character doll, an animatronic doll, or a robot. Which more or less confirms to me that the interactive toys I'm talking about are Marvel action figures. Now when speaking about a toy in relation to this particular attraction, the patent describes it as a non-ride device. The toy itself will include a sensor to sense attributes of the environment and can include cameras, microphones, accelerometers, thermometers or GPS antennas, a speaker to play audio, a receiver to receive information from the ride, a body, of course, a transmitter to send information to the attraction like its presence or past experience data, and movement figures to move its arms and legs. The patent says, in some embodiments the memory can be a writable persistent storage that can store experience data and a plurality pre-programmed responses. In some embodiments, the plurality of pre-programmed responses characterize the behavior of the device. In some embodiments, the processor can update the memory with new experience data. In some embodiments, updating the memory with the new experience data modifies future selection of one of the plurality of pre-programmed responses in response to a received trigger signal. Meaning this interactive toy can actually track your ride experiences and react appropriately. So if something specific happens the first time you take it on a ride, it will never forget that and reference it the next time you ride. It goes on to say, in some embodiments, the at least one processor can modify the attraction experience based on at least one of the presence of the non-ride device and the experience data of the non-ride device. Meaning if the attraction detects the toy, then it could actually read the data from that toy and react accordingly. So let's say you go on the ride with your interactive toy. The first time you went on the ride, you saved Captain America. Now the next time you go, the attraction could read that you saved him and maybe he will say something like, hey, you saved me last time. But it would be much more impressive than that because I'm not an Imagineer for a reason. Now this is an interesting part. The patent reads, in some embodiments, the event in the attraction experience includes the presence of a character. I find this really interesting. Presence of a character to me means two things. Let's say on your first ride with your interactive toy, you didn't do too well and unalived Captain America for lack of a better word. Now the next time you take it on board, he's not going to show up, for consistency reasons. The other possibility is that the interactive toy is an action figure that will include a range of characters. That might mean if you buy an Ant-Man action figure, that when you ride with the toy, Ant-Man will show up in the ride, assuming he usually wouldn't. Or it could trigger Ant-Man to say or do something within the ride after it detects your toy. In some embodiments, the trigger signal detects a specific reaction by the non-ride device. Now this part could mean that if you have an Iron Man interactive toy, when Iron Man in the ride shoots at something, it could trigger your matching toy to light up in time. But again, these are all just examples and my own personal wishful thinking. More interestingly, the patent reads, the play object can include any object that is used in play and can include a toy, a costume, an insignia, any worn or carried object, clothing and/or a clothing accessory. Such play objects may be tokenized and/or may include features allowing communication with the play object and computer-based identification of the play object. meaning that the action figures or interactive toys are customizable. So let's say you buy an Iron Man figure and decide to customize it by dressing him up in a clown costume. This could prompt Iron Man to wear the suit within the attraction if it detects your toy. Now let's take a look at the attraction itself. As aforementioned, the Quinjet attraction is allegedly to be a simulation ride, similar to Soarin' or Flight of Passage, and use an attraction with a curved screen. The patent describes the simulation as, in some embodiments, the processor can include a game engine that can include a rendering engine. The game engine and the rendering engine can together or independently develop and/or progress the narrative of the simulation and/or the generate images corresponding to that narrative. The narrative comprises a sequence of occurrences and/or actions that are presentable and in some embodiments are sequentially presentable to an attraction passenger or to a show viewer. This would be the same type of simulation that we can find on Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, where the experience changes on how well or not the guests perform their tasks. I love these type of simulations because it really makes you feel like you're creating your own story and in power of the outcome. Now this part is very, very interesting to me. In some embodiments, the virtual world can be presented to one or several passengers and/or viewers via a display such as provided via one or several projectors, screens, monitors and/or speakers, and in some embodiments, the virtual world can be presented via the generation and/or delivery of one of several control signals, which control action of one or several animated figures, animated props, or show action equipment, and in some embodiments, the virtual world can be presented via a combination of animatronic and display. This part is really interesting and sort of alludes to the possibility of animatronics being present in the Quinjet attraction besides the screen part, like in Star Tours. This is what the ride vehicle and attraction looks like in the figure drawings. So what we see here is the ride vehicle, of course, the curved screen the virtual world will be presented on, and the projector for that video. So let's look at the ride vehicle itself. The processor can include a motion control. The motion control can control motion of a simulation vehicle via control of a motion base that is connected to the simulation vehicle and/or upon which or on which the simulation vehicle is mounted. The simulation vehicle can transport passengers from a starting position to a termination position, which starting position can be the location at which passengers enter the simulation vehicle, and which termination position can be the location at which the passengers exit the simulation vehicle. I love this idea, as most simulations just keep you in the one place. This Quinjet attraction could actually physically move you from the entrance of the ride to the exit of the ride. This type of interactive attraction technology could be a serious breakthrough for theme parks, and if it's for the new Quinjet attraction, it could really put Avengers Campus at the top of the theme park game.